Imperialism. It's one of those things that nobody has a problem with unless they're the victim, they're the target, or they're the country that wealth needs to be extracted from. And it has been happening for quite some time now. You see, when Trump invaded Venezuela and kidnapped President Maduro, a lot of Trump voters, paint me as not surprised, tried to justify it by saying that this is good for America. But at the same time, you can see a lot of Americans have problems with what Russia did to Ukraine. You can't make this shit up. On one hand, you think that it's totally fine if a country carries out preemptive attacks. And on the other hand, this rule just applies to you. Invading and attacking any country is not wise, is not something that responsible nations do. Now, you may have problems with Maduro and his policies, but that doesn't mean that you get to invade that country and kidnap him. And for a long time, Europe was in on it. America's ambitions weren't just America's ambitions, they were Europe's ambitions too. Whenever the US wanted to pull crap like this, they had to use NATO. And now NATO threatens NATO. Denmark is a part of NATO, and now Trump wants Greenland, which is a sovereign territory of Denmark. And suddenly, imperialism is bad now, in the Western Hemisphere at least. This is what everybody was trying to say. You see, when you try to make exceptions in the international law for one country, be assured that it's going to happen again. And maybe this time it won't be in your favor. And Europe is finding it out the hard way. The way Canadians have been treated by the United States for the past couple of years is insane. Now, I'm not trying to blame all Americans here. I know there are a lot of decent Americans, good Americans. They don't want to have anything to do with this crap. But at the same time, there is a huge chunk of Americans who actually believe that they can do anything and get away with it. This is what happened in Iraq, the weapons of mass destruction. Those weapons were never found. But more than 1 million civilians died. That's the stark reality. That's something that's enough for anybody to say that we're never going to fall for this again. But no matter how many misadventures America pulls off, people don't seem to care. Especially the Americans, especially the Western Hemisphere. But the good news is at least a good chunk of the Western Hemisphere, a good chunk of the Western population is now waking up to it. Did you know that Iraq was once an American ally? Did you know that Saddam Hussein was given the key to the city? International law is not supposed to have any exceptions. You cannot threaten the sovereignty of any country. The United States of America has been on decline for the past 10 years at least. And this is mostly because of foreign interventions. Interventions in the Middle East, interventions in Asia, interventions in Latin America. People do not like that. People do not like bullies. People do not like a police state. And if you're one of those Americans who think that it's alright as long as we don't suffer, if this tyranny doesn't hurt us, then think again, because it is already happening. It's happening in the form of ICE. You cannot abandon your basic human values just because you feel threatened by a bunch of immigrants. If immigration is your issue, then there are better ways to deal with it, rather than going and beating up people and kidnapping them. That includes women and children as well. Wasn't America supposed to be the force of good? All of you pretty much dropped the act. In the very latest turn of events, Trump has also threatened Canada. Now, this is very recent, okay? Trump has been threatening Canada for quite some time now, but this one is just like what happened in Venezuela. This is like an attack on the sovereignty of a nation. He's basically saying that Canada cannot make any deals with China. Now, I do not understand why that should be the case, because if two sovereign countries make a trade deal, that's fair and fine, as long as they do not break any international law, which they aren't. I mean, I'm pretty sure they aren't. Now, I don't know what that means. Like, is he gonna invade Canada or something? This is so stupid. This is madness. How do you explain this? Like, you're picking up beef with every single country. You're fighting with Canada, you're fighting with Mexico, you're fighting with Venezuela, Cuba, Brazil. What is this? Is this like Monroe Doctrine 2.0 or something?
When we're Canadian, inclusive, fair, ambitious, Canada grows. Canada and the United States have built a remarkable partnership in the economy, in security, and in rich cultural exchange. But Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian. Now, Canada can't solve all the world's problems, but we can show that another way is possible, that the arc of history isn't destined to be warped towards authoritarianism and exclusion. It can still bend towards progress and justice.
I genuinely feel that Trump really wanted to invade Greenland. Some of his advisors may have told him that that's a stupid idea. this one act could totally dismantle NATO. And perhaps that's why he didn't invade Greenland. It's not because he actually cared about the people of Greenland or Denmark. He just couldn't do it because it wasn't approved. Even Trump has his own bosses, the people who fund him, his donors.
Would you like me to say a few words of Greenland? I was going to leave it out of the speech, but I think I would have been reviewed very negatively. I have tremendous respect for both the people of Greenland and the people of Denmark, tremendous respect. But every NATO ally has an obligation to be able to defend their own territory. And the fact is, no nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States. We're a great power, much greater than people even understand. I think they found that out 2 weeks ago in Venezuela. We saw this in World War II, when Denmark fell to Germany after just 6 hours of fighting and was totally unable to defend either itself or Greenland. So the United States was then compelled, we did it, we felt an obligation to do it, to send our own forces to hold the Greenland territory. And hold it we did, at great cost and expense. They didn't have a chance of getting on it, and they tried. Denmark knows that. We literally set up bases on Greenland for Denmark. We fought for Denmark. We weren't fighting for anyone else. We were fighting to save it for Denmark. Big, beautiful piece of ice. It's hard to call it land. It's a big piece of ice. But we saved Greenland and successfully prevented our enemies from gaining a foothold in our hemisphere. So we did it for ourselves also. And then after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps. After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How stupid were we to do that? But we did it. But we gave it back. But how ungrateful are they now? So now our country and the world face much greater risks than it did ever before because of missiles, because of nuclear, because of weapons of warfare that I can't even talk about. 2 weeks ago, they saw weapons that nobody ever heard of. They weren't able to fire one shot at us. They said, what happened? Everything was discombobulated. They said, we've got them in our sights. Press the trigger, and nothing happened. No anti-aircraft missiles went up. There was one that went up about 30 feet and crashed down right next to the people that sent it. They said, what the hell is going on? Those defensive systems were made by Russia and by China.
Now, recently, Trump made a very bold claim by saying that he's got this whole Greenland thing under control and he's made a deal. But he also claims that he made this deal with the NATO chief. Now, I'm not really sure if the NATO chief holds such power over Denmark, where he can give away the territory of Denmark to the United States. Correct me if I'm wrong. If there's anybody from Europe who's watching this, especially from Denmark, can the NATO chief do that? I do not believe that's the case. Maybe that's why he's coming up with this bullshit board of peace. Now, is it the board of peace or is he bored of peace? Yeah, I know that joke has been done to death, but it's funny nonetheless. So this board of peace has some really awesome champion members. Trump claims they're all special, in his own condescending way. So now this is the new UN for Donald Trump. I mean, we already have an useless organization. Why make another one? Hey, now before you leave, can you just drop a like and leave a comment? So that's going to help my channel grow a bit. It's going to help with the algorithm and stuff. I'd really appreciate it if you did that.